Hello and welcome to homework number 7, segment lengths. Once again, we are going to be using the formula chart. Today we are going to be concentrating on these 3 formulas. So this formula, if we have 2 chords that intersect inside a circle, it will divide each chord into 2 segments. We cannot say the segments are congruent, but what we can say is that the product of the length of these 2 segments is equal to the product of the length of these 2. So the length of W times the length of Y will equal the length of Z times the length of X. If we have 2 secants, then this external part of this secant, A, times the entire quantity, so times the sum of A and B, will equal C times the sum of C and D. And then if you have a tangent and a secant, the length of the tangent part squared is equal to R times the quantity R plus S. So those are the 3 that we're going to use today. Example 1 talks about when we have 2 chords. And what I just said is that the product of the 2 segments will equal the product of those 2 segments. So we will have 27 times the quantity X plus 5 will have the same value as 24 times the quantity X plus 7. Now, some of you would prefer to just distribute this and deal with large numbers. If I can reduce or simplify, I like to do that first. When I look at 27 and 24, I know they're both divisible by 3. So I can say 3 goes into here 9 times, 3 goes into here 8 times. So then I have 9x plus 45 will equal 8x plus 56. Subtract 8x from both sides, subtract 45 from both sides, and x is going to equal 11. And that's all we were asked to solve for. On some of the problems, you actually have to figure out the length here. So x plus 5, if x is 11, x plus 5 would be 16. If we're asked to find the length here, be very careful, because in the past, a lot of kids have taken 27 and multiplied by 16, but that's incorrect. To find this length, this entire length, we would take that 27 and add 16 to it, which we would get, 43. So if you're asked for x, you stop right there, but if you're asked for the entire length of the chord, find x, plug it in here, and then add those 2 values. Do not multiply those. You are multiplying to find the value of x. Example 2, we're going to use the second one that I said. So we are going to take 9 times this whole length. Well, we don't know what x is, so we just have the quantity x plus 9. I wrote my 9 first, so let me write 9 plus x will equal 8. And then you guys are smart enough to be able to add these in your head. 8 plus 19 is 27. So we have 8 times 27. Once again, if you have a calculator, it's easy to do it that way, but I do prefer to simplify if I can. 9 goes into here 1 time. 9 is going to go into there 3 times. So then I have 9 plus x is equal to 24. I subtract 9 from both sides, and x will equal 15. Example 3, I am going to have you write this down, pause, and figure it out. I'm going to try to embed a question where you have to answer the value for x. So get this written down. Okay, hopefully that worked. So what we're going to do here is we're going to take that 24 and square it, and that's going to equal 18 times the quantity 18 plus x. If you are the kind of kid that likes to do it all in the calculator, that is fine to do it this way. If you are a type of kid who likes to simplify first, instead of writing 24 squared, write 24 times 24 so that you make sure you simplify correctly. So then we know that, well, there's lots of things. We know that 3 goes into both of these. 3 goes into here 8 times. 3 goes into here 6 times. So then we know 6 goes into both of these. 6 goes into here once, 6 goes into there 4 times. So now we have 8 times 4 is 32, and we're just gonna distribute a 1. So we have 18 plus x, subtract 18 from both sides, and x equals 14. Hopefully that's what you got. The last example, example 4, we are going to have to go back to solving quadratic formulas, which some of you have not tried to even work on at all. It is a very important concept in Algebra 2, so you're either going to do it now or you're going to struggle with it next year. So here we're going to take the product here, so we have 12 times 10, and that will equal the product of x minus 1 times the quantity of x plus 6. Well, here, to use the quadratic, we have to set it equal to 0. Before we set it equal to 0, we have to simplify both sides. So 12 times 10 is 120. Then I'm going to use FOIL. If you guys want to go back and use that box where you do the x minus 1 and the x plus 6, you can do that. But FOIL is first, outer, inner, last. So x times x is x squared. Our outer is 6x, our inner is negative 1x. So combining those terms, we'll get plus 5x, and our last is going to be negative 6. Now we can set it equal to 0. So now we can subtract 120 from both sides. So I have 0 is equal to x squared plus 5x minus 126. Once again, we know it's even, so we know it's divisible by 2. If I add these digits, this is also divisible by 9. So what I would do is I would take my calculator and I would say, okay, what is 126 divided by 9? And it's 14. So I know 9 times 14 is 126. Well, if I'm going to factor these to get x squared, I know I have to have x and x. To get a negative, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. So for my outer and inner terms, the difference of them has to be 5. Well, the difference here is 5, so that's what I need. If I want a positive 5x, the larger number is going to come with the plus, and the other number is going to go there. So then I can set, if the product of two things is 0, either x plus 14 has to equal 0, or x minus 9 has to equal 0. So x is equal to negative 14, or x is equal to 9. If I plug a negative in here, that makes this length negative 15. We can't have negative lengths, so my x has to be 9. Let's just double check this. If I plug a 9 in here, I'm going to get 8. 9 plus 6 is 15. If I take 15 times 8, I will get 120, which is what the product of these two is. So all we needed to do here was solve for x, so that is correct. Okay, I'm going to try to embed another question here. I want you to figure out what is the quantity of 5x squared. All right, remember, if you were going to do this, you are going to have a 5x. The whole thing needs to be squared. So you are going to have 5x times 5x, which is 25x squared. You need to be careful if it's something like this, where you have a variable out here. If this quantity were 5x and we needed to square it, it would end up to be 25x squared. I hope all of that makes sense, and I look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Bye.